And there's a show that Glenn and I are watching on Apple TV right now that I am, I think, the most excited about in terms of quantum physics and infinite potentialities and new thought principles, even though it's like not a new thought show. So excited. This is the one I'm most excited about since Ted Lasso. Okay, is anyone here a Ted Lasso fan? Yeah, okay, all right. So amazing, amazing stuff in there. I've watched that entire series, a couple of times. We'll continue to watch it. This series, not on the light side, on the darker side, it is called Dark Matter. Anybody watching it? I said to Glenn, one. Okay, continue.
It's too dark.
Okay, all right. There's another one, a German one called Dark. That's dark. Really good. Anyway, okay, I digress. So Dark Matter, I said to Glenn, no one's gonna know what it is. But anyway, Dark Matter is this show about a guy named Jason who has a wonderful life, a wonderful wife that is the woman that he fell in love with, years and years ago. And they have a 16-year-old son, Charlie, and he works as a quantum physics professor at a university. And he likes his job, but he's not super inspired. But he loves and adores his family. And what we learned pretty early on is somewhere way, way back, he made a choice not to go sort of the sciencey inventor route and become this well-known quantum physics, inventor, but to focus on family life and to have a kid and to have a family. Well, he ends up finding out that one of his closest friends wins this massive prize in quantum physics. It's worth like billions of dollars or something, because he invented something. And this is a prize that this Jason character would have been the one to easily win it, had he gone down that scientific path. And so he goes to the pub to celebrate his friend, even though he doesn't really want to, but his wife is like, come on, you gotta go and celebrate, and this is a super big deal. And as they're talking at the end of the evening, his friend, Ryan, offers Jason a job to come and work with him. And he's like, this is really tempting, but how is it going to impact my family? Because we've got to move to another city. I don't want to uproot them. So he's thinking about this on his way home. And then on his way home, he's approached by some mysterious person who ends up abducting him, injecting him with some kind of psychoactive drug. And when he wakes up, he's somewhere where he doesn't recognize, yet everybody recognizes him. And he's like, what is going on? Like, he's terrified because he has no idea who these people around him are. And they're talking to him like he's this incredible, amazing, award-winning inventor. And so over the course of a couple of episodes, what we learn, along with Jason, is that he has been abducted by an alternate version of himself. The Jason that would have been, had he chosen that more scientific path. And so the whole show right now is about these infinite possibilities based on the choices that we make. And are we making these choices intentionally, or are we just kind of going with the flow? And so once this Jason number 1 discovers that it was Jason number 2 who abducted him and plucked him out of his world so that he could have that life, because he kind of regrets making the decision to go the science route, Jason number 1 now has to figure out how to get back to his family, right? And so he's accompanied by a scientist that works with Jason number 2 using this contraption, the box they call it, that takes them to different possibilities, to alternate realities. And it all has to do, once they figure out how it works, with what you're thinking, okay? And so in this, there's a point where Amanda, who works with Jason number 2, the evil Jason, is talking to Jason number 1, the good Jason. She's saying the subconscious marches to its own beat. And that's the whole key to getting this box to work the way that they want it to work. Because they're trying, they're going, they're opening doors, and all these things are happening. They're in a desert one time, they're in a snowstorm another time. They're in an apocalyptic world where the world is literally crumbling before their eyes. And so they realize that it has to do with what they're thinking. And not even what they're thinking, but what they're feeling. And so they realize that they have to get crystal clear with what it is they want when they open up that door the next time. Because what he wants to get back to his family and the reality that he got plucked out of. She's not exactly sure what she wants. And even though they know how this box works, they keep finding themselves in these alternate realities where it's kind of close to, but there's something that is off. Well, what was it that you were thinking before you opened the door? What was it that you were feeling before you opened the door? And so for me, the reason this is so exciting, because it's so new thought. You know, it totally speaks to personal responsibility and how it's up to us to decide how are we using our minds to create the reality that we're experiencing. Because what we focus on expands, right? From a spiritual perspective, from a quantum physics perspective. There are all of these infinite possibilities just hanging out, waiting to collapse into reality. And it's only when we focus on one of them that, bam, it collapses into particularized reality, and that's what we experience. But we need to know, are we doing this intentionally? Are we doing this purposefully? Are we doing this with awareness? Or are we letting our imagination run wild and not really paying attention to what it is that we're doing? So this is what the show is. And we're 5 episodes in. And it's just, it is so good. So, you know, maybe you want to give it another chance. But if you have Apple TV or access to Apple TV or Andy TV, then I recommend it, because it is a really good show, and it just really gets you thinking about what choices am I making, and am I making them with awareness? So my talk today is called Everything Matters. Everything matters. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes that all thought is creative. All of it. Okay? But sometimes we don't necessarily experience something in like its fullness because we haven't put a lot of energy into it. You know, when Ernest Holmes talks about affirmative prayer, Emma Smiley, atomic prayer, spiritual mind treatment is what we call it in Science of Mind or religious science. He talks that the key ingredient for why prayer works is feeling. Without feeling, you can just mumble off a whole bunch of words, and it doesn't mean anything. But when you put passion, when you put love, when you put intention, when you focus on something, that feeling that you're putting into it, that passion, that intention, it expands. It's kind of like when Joe Dispenza talks about how thoughts are electric, like feelings are magnetic. Without the feelings, you're not going to necessarily attract what it is that you require to realize the vision that you hold in your mind. Like you may, but it could probably take you forever. But when you really focus your feeling and attention and the power that you are on the thought that you hold in mind, the vision that you hold in mind, then you are going to vibrationally start to attract the resources, the opportunities, the people, the energy, the time, the money, blah, 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 that you require to make that vision happen, in order for it to manifest, in order for it to demonstrate. Because really, that vision, it's not something outside of you, it's something that already exists as potentiality. It's something that already exists within, because otherwise you wouldn't be tuned into it. Okay? So I want to talk a little bit about thoughts versus feelings, okay? Because this show, it really, like, it's getting me riled up, and I'm really, really liking it. So in The Science of Mind, I already said, you know, feeling is the key ingredient to affirmative prayer. And in that affirmation that we had during meditation this morning, which I did bring into the talk, every thought is an affirmative prayer. When we intentionally focus on the truth of who we are, infinite creativity, resilience, and love, we consciously direct our mind towards the infinite possibilities of who we can become. Now, when I was studying, the way sort of the ladder, the order, I guess, that Dr. James Mellon would teach, was that everything stems from beliefs. Beliefs inform our thoughts, thoughts inform our feelings, feelings outpicture as emotions, and then behavior and actions. So if what we believe is informing our thoughts, then we need to be clear on what it is that we believe. Because we can use our conscious mind to think something, but if there's something else in there, like Amanda said in the show, the subconscious marches to its own beat. If the subconscious is holding on to something else, or there is something that is more obvious in there, That's what's going to win out every single time in sort of the battle between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And so in the science of mind, we really want to focus on those beliefs. And when we get clear on those beliefs, then that's when our thoughts are more congruent with those beliefs. And then as we think those thoughts and we pour feeling into those thoughts, then that becomes our reality. Well, enter David Hawkins, okay? And his book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, which was our book for 2 months here at BTC a couple of months ago. Man, it's a good book. It's the last one he wrote before he died, and it is just phenomenal. In his book, David Hawkins says that feelings are the things that we want to get to the root of. The feelings are at the root of every single thought that we could ever have. That one feeling can be the springboard for thousands upon thousands of thoughts. And so if we get to the root cause, which is the feeling, why am I feeling this way? And if we let it go, then any thought associated with that feeling goes back to no thingness, goes back to just being potentiality. So it's kind of interesting to see the interplay between thoughts and feelings and what is it that we are focusing on. Because you know what? In the quantum world, it's a yes and world. So we can focus on our thoughts and our feelings. It doesn't have to be this linear trajectory all the time, right? That's not what life is. Now, in dark matter, when they're trying to figure out how to actually master this box that they're going in and out of, when they're trying to get back to where it is that they want to go, they really need to pay attention to not only what they're thinking, but what they're feeling at the time. Because sometimes, they're thinking something, then they go through the door and something unexpected happens, and then they have to close the door and start going back and going, okay, what was I thinking at the time? Which we can do when we experience something in life. Something happens that feels negative. What was I thinking just before that? What was I feeling just before that? Okay? And the feeling part is the important part, because they're thinking these thoughts, thinking, this is where I want to go, this is the world that I want to go into, and yet I'm scared. I'm confused. I'm reminded of a dream I had when I was a little kid when this and this and this happened. They open the door, boom, they're in that dream, right? So how are you feeling, and how is what you're feeling impacting your reality that you're creating? So with all of this, it's just so neat to see how our beliefs, our thoughts, and feelings are all interconnected, are all, like I would say, divinely intertwined. That there isn't just one way, that we walk through life. That it's a circular thing, it's a spiral, it's an ebb and a flow. Sometimes we think that when we've dealt with something, then boom, it comes up again. But when it comes up again, are we the same person that we were when we first dealt with it back then? No. We have grown. As consciousness, we have grown. We have expanded. We are now more aware of who and what we truly are. We have tools and techniques under our belt that we didn't necessarily have back then. So even if it seems like the same negative problem comes up, anger was offered in the share, even if it seems like anger is something that is coming up again, you're not the same you that you experienced it 10 minutes ago, 1 month ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. You're a different you. And this you, right here, right now, and this goes for everyone, including me, we get to decide in this moment, right here, right now, what am I choosing? What am I focusing on? And am I doing it intentionally? And am I doing it purposefully? And so, because it's the month of commitment, I was flipping through some things. I joined the Affiliated New Thought Network, short Anton, and they sent me this beautiful welcome package, this book of like 200 or so different inspirational writings with a quote and then a little blurb and then another, affirmation at the bottom by all sorts of New Thought leaders in the New Thought movement. A beautiful handwritten card, a postcard, like there was so much stuff in there, it was beautiful. And I was flipping through this book and I come across a quote by Tony Robbins. And he says, your life changes the moment that you make a new, congruent, committed decision. If you want more of the same old, then all you have to do is go on the memories, the behavior, the thoughts, whatever it is that you've experienced up until now. And you will get more of the same. But if you want to grow, if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to be pulled and stretched out of your comfort zone, then you need to open up to the new, to the infinite potentiality of the quantum field you haven't yet experienced. And so that means you gotta open up, you gotta entertain new thoughts, new beliefs, new feelings, make new choices so that you can experience a new you. And those thoughts, those feelings, those choices, they have to align. Because otherwise, you're just shooting out mixed messages. And when you shoot out mixed messages into the universe, which is not out there, by the way, all it is just a reflection of what's going on in here. When you are engaged or you're immersed in mixed messages, then you're going to get mixed results. So new, congruent, committed decisions. Every moment of every day. Every moment of every day we are choosing. So my question to you today is, questions up. What decisions are you committing to? Because every moment you're deciding something. What thoughts and feelings are you affirming as you're creating your life? And if you don't know what thoughts you're affirming, take a look at your life experience, and that will inform you as to what you're thinking. Everything matters. Everything. All thought is creative. Everything. It just depends how much feeling, how much emphasis, how much we expand, or how much we focus on that as to how much of it expands. So, are you committing to more of the same, or are you committing to the infinite possibilities of who you can become? During this month of commitment, I invite you to lean in, really focus on what your commitments are, and decide how your thoughts and your feelings are informing that commitment. Because ultimately, the choice on all of it is up to you. Thank you, and so it is.